Hello, folks, and welcome to the Democratizing SEO podcast, a podcast for marketers who seek to have a better understanding of the SEO channel in order to engage with it more successfully. My name is Austine Esezobor. I am an SEO consultant and your host for this podcast. So, Google strikes again, right? They have an update of their broad core algorithm. Now, if you've been hit by this update, and by hit, I mean negatively. If you've been negatively hit by their algorithm updates, avoid the common mistake of blaming them for the drastic change in rankings that you're seeing. Instead, take the hit as an opportunity to make the necessary changes to your site. Take the hit as an opportunity to make improvements to your site. Take the hit as an opportunity to optimize your website. And when I say optimize, in this case, I'm referring to the big changes you may have had in mind or in the pipeline, but hadn't yet committed to. The hits to your site is the perfect opportunity to act on the changes your site requires. Here's why I say this. In most cases, optimization is better carried out in an evolutionary manner. It's best carried out in a manner where you make small incremental changes. This approach is safe and steady. Why do I say this? You see, the reality to SEO is that SEO implementation threatens your site status in the SERPs. Let me say that again. SEO implementation threatens your site status in the SERPs. SEO is all about improvements. Improvement requires changes to your site. Changes to your site opens the possibility that your current status in the SERPs will also change. In most cases, this is exactly what you want. This is why you implement the changes in the first place, to realize the improvements you know will result from you making those changes. However, sometimes a change leads a site to have a worse off visibility in the SERPs, usually temporarily, until Google reconsiders your site and indeed rank it higher. The time period between your site being worse off and improving in the SERPs can be days, weeks, or even months, or longer. What determines this is the level of change that's carried out on your site. By level of change, I mean the complexity and volume of change that's carried out. The bigger the change, the higher the risk. This is why, in most cases, making small iterations is far better than big, bold changes. These types of changes can destabilize your status in the SERPs, leaving your website worse off than it was, at least for a certain amount of time. So in most cases, small iterations is the better approach to use, an approach where your site's SEO evolves over a long period of time. However, there are times where you need to make broad changes to your site. There are times where you need to be bold with your SEO. There are times where you need to revolutionize your website. An algorithm update is the perfect time to do this. If you've been hit by an algorithm change, you don't need to fear losing your visibility. You've already dropped in rankings. That pressure of not making bold changes to your site in full awareness that you risk your current status quo in the SERPs is removed. What you have instead is the perfect time frame to make those bold updates to improve the site experience of your users. This is what an algorithm update presents to you when you've been hit by it. Remember, Google's objective is centered on their users. Their users are ones you want to acquire to make your users. Although Google's guidelines are guidelines and not laws, They owe it to their users to ensure a strong influence over websites. So when they roll out an algorithm update or change, you can be sure that it's for the betterment of their, and by proxy, your users. It's for the betterment of web experience. It's never an attack on your business, which is what some marketers tend to think, but rather a strong push for you to make changes to better the experience of users, theirs and yours. Whilst making revolutionary changes to your website is bold, doing so at the right time might just be what you need to level up from your status quo in the SERPs. Those big, bold changes are high risk to your visibility and also high impact to it. When you're hit by an algorithm update, the risk element is removed. Although it's unwillingly, it's removed. You can't go back in time to change things. You simply have to make changes from your current state. You simply have to make improvements from your current state. You simply have to optimize your site from your current state. Doing so with big, impactful recommendations after you've been hit by an algorithm update is the perfect time in your SEO journey. So, don't panic. SEO isn't dead. The world is not ending. You've simply been met with the opportunity to level up. And by leveling up, you'll be better prepared when the next algorithm update or change happens. Believe me, as long as you have a website, you're going to experience algorithm updates and or changes. The way you handle this experience will be telling of the way you handle it in the future. Bear this in mind as you make the necessary changes to your site. Acting on the SEO best practices and guidelines upon an algorithm update is not for the sake of search. If you've been listening to me for any length of time, you know I'm a big believer that SEO is for users and not search engines. At a time when a search engine updates its algorithms, it's even more important to keep your users in mind. The changes you'll be making are not for the sake of Google. They're for the sake of users, theirs and yours. SEOs don't optimize for search engines. We optimize for users. We acquire them via search engines, but we're not optimizing for search engines. Bearing this distinction in mind as you make progress, we hope you avoid a roller coaster ride as you journey onwards with your SEO. All right, folks, let's leave it there for now. Stay tuned for more from Democratizing SEO. Subscribe to the podcast. You can find it on your podcasting app of choice. All right, folks, my name is Austine Esezobor. I'm an SEO guy. I'll be with you on a weekly basis to enlighten you on wielding SEO to success. That'll do it for now, folks. Until next time, bye for now.